Welcome to this YouTube version of the Press and Journal's Highland League Weekly results panel. This is taken from the main Highland League Weekly Monday highlight show over on the Press and Journal website, which includes the best of the action from two matches, as well as a memory match feature this week with Turriff United manager and former Bournemouth star Warren Cummings. To watch that full version, you need to be a subscriber to the Press and Journal website, but the good news for you is you can subscribe at the moment via our sports pack for just £1 for your first 3 months. So if you'd prefer to watch over there, you can please jump over. There's a link to do that below this video, I believe. Anyway, if you just want the results, we're discussing the 6 matches that took place in the Breedon Highland League on Saturday. Myself, Ryan Crowell, Callum Law next to me. We're starting with our main game, which is Inverurie Locos 1 for Martin United 0. A tight game, this one, but as Dean Donaldson said, the Inverurie Locos manager, the back three paying off for his side.
The back three of Mark Suter, Paul Coots, Callum Dingwall, and then with Zach Ellis behind him, they all had good games and did their bit, especially in the closing stages, as Inverurie sort of held firm and saw that game out. I mean, in terms of the sort of play overall, I think for Martin probably had that bit more territory and probably did carry the slightly greater threat over the course of the 90 minutes, but the difference really was that when the sort of big chances came along for Inverurie, they took one of them through Jay Halliday just coming back from injury, and then Lloyd Robertson's one in the second half, which was another sort of good chance. He maybe took a touch too extra, but it was a good save from Ewan McDonald. But you know, Dean Donaldson's sort of been critical of Inverurie at times this season for maybe being wasteful in the final third and at times not being strong enough defensively. But I don't think you could really say that about either aspect on Saturday, because you know, took their goal well after that sort of spell of pressure round about the box, and then you know, kept a clean sheet. And if you keep back-to-back clean sheets for the first time since September for Inverurie, and if you keep clean sheets, you're always going to give yourself a good opportunity of winning the game.
Obviously, it's still early February, but Locos, I think, within 1 point of the cutting above them now. If they finish 5th, if they finish 4th this season, even if they're down in 6th, it's been a season of progress, hasn't it, for them under Dean Donaldson? Definitely, it's been a season of progress. They were 10th last season, and you know, second half of last season they did quite well in the league after obviously the slow start, and then they won the Aberdeenshire Cup at the end of the season. And this season, I mean, they're a point behind Clach in 4th, and they have a game in hand, but then everyone's sort of stacking up behind as well. Fraserburgh for Martin, Huntly, Buckie, etc. So there'll be a lot of below the sort of top three. I'm anticipating potentially a lot of chopping and changing still to come, but certainly for Inverurie, I think that target, a 4th spot, is a good one for them to have, and it would be a really good sort of season of progression, as you said, if they could get into 4th. Glenn Murison, recent signing for Martin, back from Australia. He made his first start for the club at Harlow Park.
As Stuart Anderson was sort of touching on, I would say probably for that first hour he was their best player, playing in the middle of the park. He was strong in the air, picked up a lot of second balls, got about the pitch well, and I mean, he's somebody, you know, that's his first start I think since September, so to come on and to be thrown in and sort of play as well as he did was a good sign for Martin going forward. And he's sort of somebody that, you know, when he was in the Highland League before with Huntly in a number of positions, we all saw what he was capable of, and he looks a pretty shrewd signing for Martin if he can build on that display as well. And I mean, Inverurie had somebody else, well, I was going to say making their debut, but it's not really their debut for the club because he's back for a second spell, but Josh Bolton coming on after he returned to Harlow Park from Fraserburgh. Maybe another day could have had a goal with that sort of half chance towards the end, but he's somebody that I think Locos have high hopes for, in terms of if he gets a run of games and playing sort of in attack, could be a threat for them. Because at Fraserburgh, I mean, he played quite a lot of games for Fraserburgh, but he, you know, whether it was midfield or up front or wide or even right back earlier this season, he sort of did well, in a lot of positions, but I know in Inverurie, as I said before, Dean Donaldson's been looking for more sort of spark in the final third, and he sees Josh Bolton as somebody who can add that.
Okay, victory for Banks of D there, then goals in each half, Ian Vigurs, Liam Jewell. I thought, Callum, that Banks of D were well worthy of their win. They had more attacking threat in the game for me.
I would agree over the piece. There's always sort of posed or asked a few more questions of the Buckie backline than vice versa. And saying that, in fairness to Buckie, there's a couple of moments that are probably quite key and might have changed the outcome. At 1-0, there's that chance where Marcus Goodall gets in down the side, but he can't find a teammate with the ball across, and it's a pretty decent opening. And then even at 2-0, there's the one where Lyle Keir was through and Daniel Hoban makes a good save, and it's like those are the wee moments where if you're Buckie, you're looking gun, if we score there, it makes it a different game, but they couldn't. And I think, as you said, I'd say Banks of D, they had the better of the chances and they looked to be on the front foot for more of the game, so I think you couldn't really argue too much with the outcome. A good 3 points for them as well in terms of keeping pace with the top two. Obviously Broda weren't playing, but it keeps that top three. It's interesting because without spoiling other results, but Brechin top with 51 points, having played 20 games. Broda second with 49 from 21 games, and Banks of D third with 48 from 22 games. So it's bubbling away nicely in terms of a title race, and sets it up quite well also for this Saturday when Banks of D are down at Glebe Park. And as much as there's a lot of twists and turns potentially, I would say for Banks of D's title hopes, that's probably a game that you'd be looking for them to go and win. If they could do that, then it would, even though Brechin would still have that games in hand, if they could win that, it would put a bit of pressure on and put them right in the mix.
If you're Buckie, certainly the first goal Ian Vigurs won, too easy?
Aye, a wee bit just slack, and you look at like Buckie last season and winning the league and things like that, it's not the sort of goal you would expect him to lose. And then the second one as well, you're either wanting somebody to go and put their head on it or make sure that Liam Jewell's picked up at the back post, but it didn't happen. And I ken it'll be frustrating Lewis McKinnon at the moment, and even I saw them on Wednesday night against Fraserburgh in the Highland League Cup, and there's various things went on in that game, but like you're speaking to Lewis after the game, and he's sort of talking about mistakes being made and goals they're losing and sort of shooting themselves in the foot. And even last week against Clach, one of the goals, as much as Clach capitalised well, one of the goals was sort of slack pass, loose play for Buckie, and it's just been the story of their season a wee bit that probably in too many games for their liking, they've maybe gifted goals that wee bit of too cheaply. And then if you're giving teams a goal or giving them a boost, it can be hard to come back. But there's no, you sort of say, well, we're Buckie, they're out of the cups now, 11 league games to play, what are they looking at? And it's really, if you look at the squad and the players they've still got a very good side there, and it's as much as maybe it's not the same motivation as trying to win a league, there is the potential there for them to try and sort of get back to winning ways and go on a right good run between now and the end of the season. And then even, it's a bit cliched, but folks speak about it, you come back at the start of next season having a bit of momentum and a bit of sort of confidence about the place again, because I think that's just what they're needing, because as I say, it's still good players there and experienced players and quality players at this level.
There's a red card in the game, Darryl McCarty jumping for a header with Kane Winton. Certainly to me, Callum, he catches him with the arm. I don't think it's intentional. For me, I think it's a harsh red card. I would say it's a foul, yeah, but I don't think, as I said, that there's any sort of
there's not malice to go and hurt.
It's not one of those where he has a look over the shoulder for me.
This is it. I do think it's too combative and competitive players just going up for a header, and you see it all the time, players jump and you sort of use your arms for leverage, and that's what Darrell's done. And I think it is one of these where it depends a lot on the referee you have on the day, because there's some referees where they maybe don't even give anything. It's maybe a free kick, some it's a booking, some it's a red. I would sort of come down on the side of it being a harsh red, just because I think a free kick would have sufficed, just because I don't think, again, he has caught Kane Winton with the arm, there's no question about that, but I don't think there's any intent there. I think it's one of those classic situations where if that was your team, or that was you were the player involved, or it was your teammate and you got sent off for that, you would be, disappointed to see that and would feel it was harsh. I think it was scant consolation to Bucky and to Darrell, but the only minor detail about it was at least it wasn't a decision that changed the outcome of the game. Like if it had been in the first 5 minutes and then Bucky had been playing with 10 for 85 minutes, then it has a big bearing in the game. But as much as obviously they'll potentially have Darrell suspended unless they appeal and win that appeal, that's the only small thing, is at least it didn't change the outcome. But at the same time, right in the dying embers, I think even if the referee's not happy, if he just books Darrell there, would there have been many complaints? I'm not convinced, but it's one of those decisions, I think, just very subjective in terms of what the referee feels.
4 other games in the Breedon Highland League on Saturday. 3 postponements in there?
3 off,
yeah,
right.
That maths tallies. We'll start with Clattenacudden 2, Brechin City 4. Brechin back to the top of the table. Brad Mackay and James Anderson exchanged goals early on before Dale Robertson, our predator, he hit the post unexpectedly with a spot kick. City then came out second half all guns blazing, though it was described as a crazy 10-minute spell from the Clark side, but it sounded like decent goals for Lewis Milne, Robertson and Brad Mackay, all from range by the sounds of things. And Anderson then scored what was effectively a consolation for Clark with his second 3 minutes from time.
You're on about goals. Well, you're on about goals. Lewis Milne, we should be able to show you them now. Lewis Milne's free kick to put Brechin 2-1 up was absolutely tremendous, and from the edge of the box, and just an outstanding piece of quality. I think over the piece, which I feel like I'm saying that phrase a lot today, but over the piece, a very good away performance from Brechin to go back to the top of the league in what looked a tricky fixture. I think Clark can take heart from their performance as well. James Anderson up to 17 goals for the season now, and they look a real threat going forward. Clark, Connor Gethin said, from 1-1 to 4-1, crazy 10-minute spell, and I think that's the thing when you play Brechin, and also when you play Broras, Banks of D's as well. If you have a wee spell in the game where you just drop off at a touch, they can be ruthless and punish you like Brechin did. And I say punish you, but even then, Dale Robertson's goal's a good finish. I mentioned the free kick. It's not like Clark were making major errors. It was just little things, and Brechin took advantage. But I think both sides take sort of positives from it. Brechin, obviously, the points and getting themselves in a good position. And as I said, Clark caused a problem, scored a couple of goals, and even Greg Morrison has he signed a pre-contract from Rothis, but they managed to agree a deal to get it done now, and he came on for his debut. And you look at Clark's forward options now, and they've got Greg Morrison, James Anderson, Andrew McRae, Scott Davidson, Troy Cooper, Craig Laurie, Lewis McKenzie, Alan McPhee. They've got strength and depth in the forward areas, and as they, from now to the end of the season, as they try to finish in that top 4, that'll be a real asset to them.
Okay then, Fraserburgh 3, Forest Mechanics 1. A game, a little bit of controversy in this one. We'll discuss it. All-known Aberdeen striker Fraser Mackey, get him recalled, nodded the hosts into the lead, and Jamie Beagree's strike after the interval doubled the Brock's advantage. The visitors replied through Sean Sutherland though, and hit the post via Callum Frame from a free kick.
It was the crossbar, actually.
Crossbar, sorry.
They also hit the post and another Stramash that we'll show you a bit.
But Scott Barber was on hand to ensure that Fraserburgh wrapped up the 3 points. I mean, Fraser Mackey, we'll start with him. He's certainly made an impact since signing for Fraserburgh.
He has. Well, he's kind of had to wait his chance because he signed before, it was just after Christmas actually, and came on as a sub against Clach on the 28th of December, but then it wasn't until Brora last week that he was able to make another appearance, but played well and scored up at Brora last week, played well in midweek against Buckie, and then he scored again on Saturday, and he looks a live wire. I think this game overall's a strange one because it really ebbed and flowed because, you know, Fraserburgh played pretty well to get themselves 2-0 up, and it could have potentially been more because Flynn Mackay was through on goal a couple of times. One of them just went by off the outside of the post, and Corey Patterson made a good save for the other chance. So the Broch at that point sort of were in command, and I know Stephen McDonald, the Forest manager, said afterwards, playing down the hill and with the wind in the first half, he was disappointed that they didn't create more and test Joe Barber in goal a bit more. But then after that, at 2-0, Forest had a right go and played some good stuff. I mean, we should show you it now, but they did a Stramash where I think Josh Hawkins plays it onto his own post. Kyle McLeod and Mark McLaughlin also then play it onto the post, where it's like how they haven't scored, I'm not quite sure. And then there's Callum Frame's free kick where it comes down off the crossbar, comes off Brian Hay, and it does potentially come off Brian Hay's arm, but I don't think neither the referee or the linesman were in a position to see that. I don't think they were in a great position to see that it was whether the ball had gone over the line before Joe Barber gathered it either. But I have seen video footage which suggests that it didn't cross the line. So one way or another, I think they got that decision right. Then with the final goal, Forest, I think, were feeling it's a very tight call. Ross Aitken teeing up Scott Barber. Forest feel that Scott Barber's offside, and it's again very tight either way. So, you know, it's like I can understand a wee bit Stephen McDonald afterwards maybe feeling the rub of the green, whether it was decisions or just those big moments, you know, hitting the woodwork and things, and it doesn't go in. They seem to go against the cans, which will be frustrating because, you know, they've come back at Fraserburgh, and I think they should take a lot of credit for their second half performance. And we've seen with Forest this season, you know, beating Brechin, beating Buckie, on their day they can cause anybody problems, and even the goal they scored was a really well worked goal. But again, you've got to give credit to Fraserburgh as well. That's what, in their last 16 games, one defeat, which was Rangers at Ibrox. You know, that's fantastic form. They're still in the Highland League Cup, the Aberdeenshire Shield, which they'll fancy winning. They're up to 6th in the table now, 6 points behind Clach, but with the two games in hand. So, you know, top 4 potentially if they finish well isn't off the table either. So a lot for them still to play for. And what would probably please Mark Cowie and James Duthie even more is they've won on Saturday, and their starting 11 didn't contain any of the following: Scott Barber, Greg Buchan, Paul Young, Connor Wood, Aidan Sopel or Willie West, which is, you know, all guys that you're sort of used to seeing start, but they're rotating things, and some of the younger ones, Flynn Mackay's, Josh Hawkins, Liam Strachan, these guys coming in and staking their claim and doing well. So it's all, I'd say, not just for the closing part of this season, but even going forward into next season, that things look to be pretty bright for Fraserburgh at the moment.
Quite excited about this race for 4th place. We'll need to come up with a name for it, like the Challenge Cup.
It's a bit of an unknown really, because the Challenge Cup, obviously 5 got in this year, and the format might be changed, and we might not have any in next year. So could be a race for nothing, but it's it's nice to say top 4.
Nairn County 3, Lossiemouth 1, the penultimate game to discuss. Interim boss Brian McLeod winning his first match in charge of Nairn. Scott Lyle and Sean Cameron exchanged finishes both after the break, but it sounded like 2 superb Andy Gregg goals to put the game to bed and win it for Nairn.
Aye, and Andrew Gregg showing his class once again. 2 quality finishes to make the difference. Nairn, to their credit, had a lot of decent opportunities in the first half and couldn't score, and at 0-0 maybe could have gone either way. And even when Sean Cameron equalised, Brian McLeod said afterwards that was sort of a moment of adversity where previously this season Nairn might have, folded and lost, and probably the two key moments, or the key sort of spell of play, was at 1-1. Sean Cameron was in a good position inside the box. Dylan McLean made a good save, and then Nairn went straight up the park, and a tremendous touch and finish for Andy Gregg made it 2-1 to Nairn, and then they went on and did the business from there. But that was the sort of big turning point. Could have been 2-1 to Lossy, ended up being 2-1 to Nairn, and that's a welcome sort of return to a bit of form for Nairn after their last game, which was the 5-1 home defeat before us, which was the end of Ross Tokley's tenure. And Brian McLeod will be looking to build on that between now and the end of the season, because that was a decent performance. For Lossy, I think, having kept 2 clean sheets, they'll be disappointed with the goals they lost, particularly the first one, having maybe absorbed a bit of Nairn pressure in the first half. The first goal they lost was just a slack pass at the edge of their own box, and Scott Lyle pounced, and it was avoidable. But they can still take positives. Like Sean Cameron, since he joined for Dufton, he scored four goals in 7 games, which for a team like Lossy, who in recent times haven't scored a lot of goals, he's proven a useful asset up front for them. And they also got Brodie Allen back on loan from Huntly for the rest of the season during the week. So, Brodie Allen and Sean Cameron, if they get sort of play as a 2 or whatever, or maybe Sean Cameron playing as a number 10, they could be a pretty useful partnership, I think, between now and the end of the season.
Okay, fittingly, we're finishing with Turriff United against Wick Academy. 3-0 this one to Turra, fittingly because the memory match, of course, is Turriff United themed this week. It could have been different. This game led to believe 3 great chances missed for Wick, including Gary Manson describing Kyle Henderson's miss as an absolute sitter. But United got the opener, and from that point, the home side were now unbeaten in 8. Always looked like winning, again I'm told. Murray Cormack, Rhys McEwen and Glenn Donald were the goals for Turriff.
Aye, let's just say it comes back to that thing about both boxes. Like, Wick had their chances, Ewan Kennedy, Kyle Henderson, and then I think by all accounts Lee Herbert's made a good save from Gordon McNabb's sort of long ranger. And then after that, when Turriff's chances came, they took them, and that's a difference really. And it's maybe, the wee slight difference between the teams is, you've got Turriff in this really good run of form, with that bit more confidence and belief about them, whereas Wick, although they won last week, things haven't necessarily been going their way of late, and maybe once they don't take those opportunities to be in front, and then they lose a goal, and maybe the belief, the confidence drains a wee bit out of them. But again, take nothing away from Turriff. From where they were, the run of form they've put together has been tremendous. 7 wins and a draw in all competitions in the league. The last 7 games, it's 19 points from a possible 21. That's great form, and they just really look to keep that going and keep motoring from now to the end of the season. And when they're playing like they are at present, they can cause anybody problems, and they've got a really good partnership going up front now. Mackenzie Taylor and Rhys McEwen, since Mackenzie Taylor came in sort of beginning of November time, those two are working really well together. And although it's Rhys that's scoring most of the goals, Mackenzie Taylor does a lot of good hold-up work and link play, and he's had quite a few assists since he's been at Turriff, and Rhys McEwen's up to 12 goals for the season now, so they're proving a real handful for the teams Turriff are playing. And then at the back, they were able to get Glenn Donald in for a first start, and he scored, and then Andrew Watt was back from injury as well, so it's all looking pretty positive at the moment at the Hawks.
Okay, let's have a look then before we move on to the memory match at the latest Breedon Highland League standings. Okay, that's it then. All of the action discussed from Saturday's Breedon Highland League matches. Just a reminder, if you'd like to watch highlights of 2 games from Saturday, Inverurie Locos against Formartine United and Banks of D against Buckie Thistle, as well as a memory match with Turriff United manager and former Bournemouth star Warren Cummins. You can do that over on the Press and Journal website now, but you need to be a subscriber to watch the full version of Highland League Weekly. The good news is, again, that you can do that at the moment by subscribing via our sports pack for the low price of just £1 for your first 3 months. We'll be back next week here on YouTube though with another results panel, the main game being the ding dong from Glebe Park between Brecon City and Banks of D, 2 of the teams that you would say are in the race for the Breedon Highland League title at the moment. In the meantime, before next Monday rolls around, there's a couple of things you can do to keep up to date with everything Highland League and Highland League Weekly from the P&J. You can sign up to our various social media feeds. You can also sign up to our Highland League newsletter. There's a link to do that below this video. But yes, until we see you next, please enjoy the football, whichever games you're watching.